Hello everybody, today I'm going to be looking at how to draw a portrait. We're doing a face, not this exact face, but one that will look something like this, where the person is looking straight at you. It's kind of like a ID photograph or a passport picture, where the person is looking straight at the camera or straight at you, the viewer. In this one, I have her smiling. In the one I'm going to draw right now, I'm going to do the face serious, because a smile affects a lot of other things in the face. It's not just a matter of turning the lips or the edges of the lips up. It affects the muscles in the face with the cheek and the eyes and so on. So we're not going to go into all of that today. I'm just going to be showing you basically how to line up the portrait, how to position the eyes, and how to position the nose and the mouth. So the fact that we're drawing a portrait, that in itself tells you which way your paper should be oriented. Obviously we want it to be oriented in portrait position and not in landscape position. We're going to start off with an oval. Now the human head, remember that we're not just drawing a face, we're drawing the entire head, so we've got to leave space for a forehead and the hairline at the top. I do a number of very sketchy lines. I do a kind of oval shape, and then I start to adjust it. It really is an egg shape, so it's slightly wider at the top. I could do with bringing this in a little bit narrower at the chin and making that a little bit wider along the top. I'm just going to turn that slightly just to make it more comfortable for my hand. Alright, once I've got that, I can start to erase lines that are not necessary. Just take that paper off and start to clean up that shape. Alright, so it's a bit of an egghead, slightly rounder at the top, slightly narrower at the bottom. We're going to work on what I call a principle of halves. That means we're going to keep breaking certain sections of this into half. So the first thing I'm going to do is divide it vertically. Now if I was in class, I would make my students get their ruler. I'm just doing this freehand for the sake of doing this quickly. The vertical line is running down the center of your face, so that is showing you that everything on the left side should be the same as what's on the right. As I've done this now, I can begin to see where the left side of my chin is a little bit wider than my right side. I'm going to widen the right side to match so that that is a little bit more balanced. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is divide it in half horizontally. So we're going to keep breaking sections into half. Now this halfway line here is actually where your eyes are going to go. And most people are surprised when they first come across that because they think it should be higher up. But remember, we're not drawing a face, which is just the eyes, nose and mouth. We're drawing the entire head. So once again, there's got to be space for the forehead, as well as some hair will be visible. From the eye line to the chin, you're going to break that space in half again. Now this one doesn't have to be exactly half, it can be slightly higher, but round about the halfway point. And this is where your nose is going to go. And then from that point to the chin, we're going to divide that space in half again. Once again, it can be slightly higher, but you don't want to end up leaving too much space down here either, because that will become a very large chin. So this is where your mouth or your lips will be going. So just to repeat, you've got a center line dividing the face in half left and right. Then we divide it in half horizontally. So we've got the top half and the bottom half, and that's where your eyes are going to go. Then we'll divide this bottom half into a half again, or a quarter it would be, and then an eighth. So we keep splitting sections in half. The next thing I'm going to do is divide the eyes into 5 equal sections. Now some people find this a little bit tricky because the center line confuses them. Ignore the center line at the moment. You could measure this with a ruler if you wanted to and divide that number by 5, I'm going to estimate it, so I'm going to say I want a dot there, 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 and there. Right, so each section should be roughly the same in size. This one in the middle is a little bit wider, so I'm going to just adjust those. Yep, I think I can bring these over slightly, and that should do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, why do we have 5 spaces there? Well, you need to have space from the edge of the head to the side of the eye. You need to then have an eye in space number 2. Then there's space between one eye and the other going across the bridge of the nose. And then you'll have an eye in space number 3. Sorry, space number 4, I should say. And then there's a space between the head and the edges of the head. Let me say that again. I need to speak slowly. So the first space is between the edge of the head and the eye. Then we've got eye number 1, the center where your nose is, eye number 2, and space between that eye and the edge of the head. Now, one of the things you can do as well, you can make slight adjustments. Don't bring this in too much, but it does, your head does come in a little bit around the eyes, and that's what gives you that curve of your cheeks and your jawline. So if you want to, you can start to make those adjustments. I've done it on that side. I think this side was a little bit too wide to begin with anyway, so I'm going to bring that side in. You don't want this to be too sharp. It's a smooth curve, so it's coming in slightly at the eyes and then going around at the cheeks. And just continue to clean up lines that are getting in my way. Alright, so when we look at the shape of the eye overall is an oval shape, slightly pointed at the ends. I've got big dots here because I wanted that to be visible on the camera. I'm going to just erase those now, and we're going to add some detail. The center of the eye has a little curve. Many of my students describe this as a lemon shape. And then there's another little curve coming in on the other eye. On the edge of the eye, I tend to carry the top lid a little bit longer and then tuck the bottom lid under it. And ladies, this is where you would draw your eyeliner, so that will help you to understand. We normally draw this top line out. We exaggerate that top line when we're doing the kind of cat eye makeup. Now to add some detail to the eyes. A mistake that first time drawers do is they tend to make the eyes oval shape, so they go long with them. That is a cat. We're not going after cat eyes, we want them rounded. So I'm going to make sure that this is a full circle. The circle should just about be touching the bottom of your eyelid, the bottom of the eye, and it should go out on the top of where the eyelid is there. I'm going to see if I can just zoom in, or better yet, I'm not going to move the camera. See if I can bring that up a little bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about. So I draw that circle nice and big, and I bring it out on the top of the eyelid, and then you can just erase that little bit, which will make it look as if your eyelid has gone on top of the iris. So we're going to do the other iris, same thing, curve that is disappearing under the eyelid. Then we're going to have another circle inside that, that's your pupil. Could do with sharpening this pencil, and I've actually put my sharpener away because I have a class tomorrow. Alright, I could do with a slightly sharper point, but I'll work with what I have right now. The next thing we're going to need to do are the eyelids. Now your eyelids are simply just lines that follow the curve of the upper eye. I'm just going to make a quick adjustment to the inside of this eye because I don't quite have that lemon shape, and we can do a little line there where the pink corner of your eyes are that help your eyes to move around. right? So the next thing we're going to do now are the eyelids. The eyelids start on the inner eye, they're very close to the eye, and by the time they get out to the outer eye, they're slightly wider. So it's just going to be a curved line. And as I say to my students in class, eyelids vary. If you're black, if you're white, if you're of Indian descent or any of those kind of races, then your eyelid has this kind of fold. If you're Oriental, you have a different type of fold to your eyelid, so it will look different, but we're going to work with this one today. The next thing I'm going to add in are eyelashes. Now, I always tell my students I don't want to see spider eyes. Spider eyes is where you've got the eye and then you do that as lashes. Those are spiders or insect legs. What we want to have are nice curved, my table is squeaking a little bit, and we're just going to ignore that squeaky table. What we want to have is nice curved little hairs that are flicking out and up. So on this side of the face, they're going to flick out and up towards the right. They don't have to all be the same length. Sometimes they're a little longer, sometimes a little bit shorter. But for women, these are quite long on the top. I'm not going to go all the way into the center of the eye. I'm going to stop about there. When we get to the bottom, they go out and down. And once again, they are fewer and shorter on the bottom. On the top, out and up. Nice little flicking motion with your fingers. And then on the bottom, out and down and shorter. Okay, sorry, my memory ran out on my card. I just had to fix that problem and get back to it. So here we go again. So we've got the eyelashes done. Now we're going to do the eyebrows. You can judge how far you want this to be. Obviously we don't want them all the way in the forehead. We don't want them too far down by the eyes. So we're going to do an arch shape above the eyes for where you want your eyebrows to be. Those are just sketch lines. I don't encourage people to draw in a shape and color that in. Your eyebrows are made up of hairs, so we're going to make those of tiny little hairs going kind of upwards in the center and then gently changing that direction of the curve until you come down to a thinner point at the end, right around the edge of the eye. So on this side they're flicking upwards, curving and coming down. I don't need to do too much work on the eyebrows right now. When we get to the second part of this video where I'm shading, then you'll see how we fit that in. Alright, so the next thing we're going to work on now is the nose. I'm going to do 2 lines coming down from the corner of my eye. So I'm basically having the same size as your eye coming down to the nose line. Just under this nose line, I'm going to draw a little valley. And that valley then has 2 hills beside it, and then right under the hill I'm going to do a little bracket that's going to curve up and round, and you can decide how round you want that. This is quite a flat round nose. If I wanted this to be slightly longer, I could bring that shape up higher like that. Okay, we don't draw the bridge of the nose, so these are just guidelines. I'm going to erase these as I go along, so starting to clean up my drawing a little bit. I can now erase these lines. Remember that your nose is coming down. I can now erase this center line, and I can erase my eye line. In fact, I can also erase this line where my nose was. So I'm starting to clean up a lot of this drawing as I go along, bit by bit. Next thing to do is a mouth. How do we do the mouth? We go from the corner, the outer corner of the eye. Although I've erased this, I can still see where my center line and my nose line had crossed. So I'm going to go right through that center line down to the mouth line. Do the same thing on the other side. Go from the outer corner of the eye, and I'm going to do a great big X that brings me down to the mouth line. That looks quite wide, but it is the very, very edge of the lips, the very thin part. So we're going to draw the top lip above this line and the bottom lip below the line. The top lip has a little dip, which is very similar to the curve that was on the nose there. In fact, I think my mouth could maybe be a little bit closer to my nose. I maybe should have moved that line up, but I'm going to work with what I've got. And then we're going to curve it down. The bottom of this top lip is very similar. It tends to have a curve like that. And then goes towards the edges. Now your bottom lip tends to be thicker. I definitely know this works with black people. Our bottom lip is a lot thicker than our top lip. So I'm going to make this space a little bit wider, and I'm going to curve downwards this time. And as I bring this lip up, I'm not going to go all the way to the end. I'm going to tuck it under the top lip like that. So this is quite a serious person. They're not smiling. I can bring that top lip up a little bit, and I think I've got that side a bit too low, so I'm just going to adjust that as we go along. Right, so this is just a person staring straight ahead at you. The next thing we need to have now are the ears. Where do our ears go? Well, the fact that your glasses, the stem of your glasses or the arm of your glasses rests on your ear tells you that your ears are in line with your eyes. So where they grow out of your head, they're in line with your eyes. They might go a little bit above that line, and they come all the way down to where your nose is. Now, most people think that's too long, but that's where they are. I'm not going to do these too wide. I don't want them too sticky out. It kind of comes in bracket shape and curves back down under. So once again, in line with the eyes, I'm curving above that line, comes in towards the face, and then as I get to this nose line, I'm going to curve and tuck under. If you're somebody that wears earrings, then this is where the earring or the knob of the earring would be. You can draw some more details, so you can spend some time and look at ears and see where their lines and curves go. Everybody's ears are different, just like the lines in your fingerprints and the lines in your eyes. Everybody's ears are different, so spend some time looking at some ears if you want to draw the detailing. Usually a lot of this gets covered by the hair when I'm drawing it, so I'm not going to spend too much time on the ears. The next thing that we're going to do now is the neck. Let me just slide this up a little bit so that we have space. Let's just clean up some of these guidelines. Now if you look at a person from the side view, you'll realize that the neck is actually right under your ears. But obviously we can't draw this straight down. And did that, you'd look like you had a tree trunk for a neck. What we're going to do is we're going to curve this in so it comes from the ears, but it goes behind your jaw. So that jawbone actually blocks a little bit of your neck, and we curve down. So from the ears, it's gone behind the jaw, curving down. I'm right-handed, so I will draw one side easier than the other. I'll draw this sort of curve easier. If you're left-handed, you might find it easier to draw this side. Alright, obviously I don't want to see the neck through the draw, so I'm going to erase that line, and that gives us a little indication of a neck. We don't need to draw too much details. If you want to fill this in on the whole page, you can bring that out into where the shoulders would go. Alright, next thing now we need is a hairline. This space that we've got left between the eyebrows and the top of the head, we're going to go for roughly half of that, just a little bit above half actually. We usually have what's called a widow's peak, which is a curve. Whether you're a boy or girl, everybody has this. This is where your hairline curves upwards. It tends to go back and it comes down slightly in front of your ears. Now I'm just sketching a line in. If you want to draw somebody with their hair going back, you can do all your lines going back. If you want to draw somebody with a big bun of hair on the top, you can do that all swirly. If you want to draw somebody with the hair down, then you do it down. You can now adjust this in any which way you want it to go. I'm going to just curve my neck out a little bit, looking back at that one, a little bit wide at the bottom. Alright, so just to finish off, You can now imagine that this is a hairdressing doll. You can add any hairstyle onto it. I'm going to put some bangs on my girl here, so I'm going to draw the hair coming downwards, not starting from the hairline but slightly behind that, and I'm going to part her hair on the side and carry my lines over the top of her head because her hair is thicker, filling in this space and then coming down on the other side. So she's got her hair parted over here. Alright, and we can bring that down as long as we want it. I've got my writing there, so I'm not going to go much further than that. Alright, you can have it flicking up, you can have it flicking down. You could make her hair curly if you wanted to, as it was on the previous picture. Alright, I'm just going to sketch in some quick lines for the hair. I'm not spending much time on that. In the next video, when we show you how to do the shading, we'll add more details to this. Okay, hope that helped you. Please remember to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Bye.